Okay, hello everyone. Welcome back to Rewriting the Rules. Today I have with me Jess Jones, and I'm very excited to discuss all the things about her new method and everything she's doing. So I'm going to hand you over to Jess, and she's going to introduce herself and talk a little bit more about her method.
Hi guys. So my name's Jess. I run Wild Hot Dogs. And I've just brought out the Regain method. So I started as a dog walker about 10 years ago. I worked for a great company, and I started as a solo dog walker because I couldn't drive. So um the girl Janie that I worked with, she had all the group dogs. She had all the fun, great, lovely, great time dogs. And I had the solo dogs that weren't able to go with any of our dogs. And that is kind of how I found where I am today. Um, I would walk dogs. I was working for 8 hours a day, walking solos, traveling about half an hour on buses, walking everywhere. Um, and I got some really, really hard dogs that would pull me, that I would go home and cry. I didn't know how to handle them. I didn't know what to do with them. And instead of quitting, because I love my job so much, I decided to lean into it and figure out how I could help them. Because I could see that I don't believe there's a bad dog. I don't believe in the whole dogs are naughty, dogs are bad, dogs do this out of spite. Um, I truly believe that every dog is struggling in their own way. The ones that bark, lunge, pull, growl, bite. Um, yeah, and that's kind of where I started from, actually being in it, like in the depths of it. And I just wanted to help, really.
That's a really interesting way of, I mean, I think that's authentic, isn't it? That you work out the problem from being in the midst of it,
Yeah.
and seeing them as they were, and that's brilliant. And so you saw them, and you spent a lot of time with, the harder dogs, which again, not everyone gets to do. A lot of people have come from different paths in their journey, and you can start with, working with puppies and then building your way up. But you've literally started right
Oh,
from
yeah,
this.
yeah. I was thrown in the deep end and I knew nothing about dogs. I had a dog when I was younger, um, but I didn't actually at the time have my own dog either.
Okay.
So I was thrown, I had no qualifications behind us, no experience, and I'm out here walking. My first dog was a big foxhound.
Oh.
And then they had a basset hound as well. So I'm walking them. Um, and I'm just going in these houses going, I don't know what I'm doing. It was crazy. And then I got lurchers, I got a Great Dane. Um, and again, to me, I was like, how do I make it easier for them? But how do I make my job easier as well?
Mm.
Um, so I shadowed a little bit around dog training, but something, it just didn't sit right with us. Um, and then I think over the years, everything I've learned from the dogs themselves. I've got like theory and I did courses behind us. Um, but everything I've physically learned is from being in it 24/7, to the point where I don't class it as a job. It is now, it's a lifestyle.
Yeah.
There's a pattern, and that's kind of how I teach as well. I don't really teach training sessions. I don't teach techniques as much. We teach the guardians how to read their dogs, how to learn about their dogs and change things in general to make it a lifestyle. Because I've found from watching other people, when you just do training techniques, everybody stops at some point. Everyone hopes there's a finish line. Everyone's like, the consistency isn't there. They get bored. They can't keep it up because it's like, we got to do this, this, and this. You got to do this, this, and this. And dogs don't work like that.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree more. I think that's brilliant. So let's jump into the deep end then. Let's talk about your regain method. I love the name. I think that's very intriguing to me. I'd love to learn more about it. You know, where did it like what was your inspiration? I mean, and I'm guessing it's probably the inspiration was what you were just saying about wanting to kind of help them in a more organic way, really, in a way that dogs really naturally learn from. But let's talk about that. Let's introduce that. I don't know what it is, so I'm intrigued to find out.
Well, the inspiration for the regain method came, it's changed a lot. Um, it came originally because as a trainer, I thought that I wasn't given enough information to clients that they needed. Um, so I wanted to start off as memberships. In my head, everyone was going to sign up to a monthly membership and they would get all the information that I thought was important. And then I realized that probably not all that information was important. I'm just a big nerd. So I enjoy that, but not necessarily the clients enjoy that. Um, and the memberships, if I was going to charge a membership, it was going to be so much money. And I didn't feel right doing it that way. So then I switched to my training walks. So I still wanted to keep my walks because being a walker is what I know. And I was like, right, I'll do training walks. So I will walk the dogs and help them for you. And I'll do a couple of coaching sessions with you. Um, and then that'll be great. And my training walks went great, but I realized there was the missing piece of the puzzle, and that was the guardians themselves. Um, so along this time, I was going through a lot of my own experiences. I went through trauma when I was younger, and I had been through therapies, loads of different therapies, and I finally found out how to regulate my own nervous system. And through all of that and working so closely with the dogs, I don't know if it's because I am neurodivergent, but I feel like I connect a lot with the dogs more than people. And a lot of the reasons the dogs were going through what they're going through connected. I could see the patterns in my head and how it related to what I was going through and how I felt. So we always joke that I am a reactive dog. I will bark, I will lunge, I will, when I'm feeling stressed, when I get overwhelmed, when I'm scared, I have a lot of the same behaviors. Um, and that's when I realized, right, well, if it works for me, let's see how it works for my dogs. And then it worked really well with my dogs. And I was like, right, what's the missing piece? Again, the guardians. So the regain method, it's in 4 phases. The first phase is reset. And that's all about resetting our nervous system, regulating it, rebuilding connection between the guardians and the dogs, and regulating their nervous system. Because a lot of clients that I've worked with are anxious, and they are either anxious and then got a reactive dog that is now anxious, or are anxious because they have a reactive dog. And you can't do one really without the other. It's both ends of the lead. Um, and then over the years, I had clients come to me that had already, I seem to be the one that they come to after they've tried all the other dog trainers and then they come to me. So I get all the stories and that's how I learn, this is how I change, this is how I adapt. And I'm like, right, if that didn't work, what can I do differently to make sure it works? And I heard a lot of stories of people going to dog trainers and just being get told, well, your dog's anxious because you're anxious. And then they leave. And it's a cop out and they can't do anything about it. And I was like, well, that just makes you feel shitty. It makes you feel guilty. It gives you all this, like, what you're stuck. You're stuck in limbo. What can I do now if I can't help my dogs? Because my anxiety is through the roof. And I am the reason my dog is like this, but you're not giving me any help to change that. So that's what I do. I give them the help and build their confidence up by teaching them how to read the dogs. I find if we can predict our dog's behaviour before our dog actually does that behaviour, it makes it a hell of a lot easier to know how to handle the situation. So that's what we teach in Reset. We have very minimum training techniques. It all is all about taking a step back, taking the pressure off, and rebuilding that connection with your dog. And then they have a break. So I find the break in between is the most important part. I don't do one program and then have them straight onto the next program. And we have a couple of weeks break in between so they don't get overwhelmed by everything. And so they can build the confidence up that they can do it without me. I want my clients to not need me, to be like, right, I've got this. And we do it in a way where we train for the situation, not in the situation. So everything I'm teaching them, no matter what comes up, whether they go to the beach and the dog barks there, they can handle it. If they go to a brand new environment, they look at their dogs and go, right, he's lunging. How's he feeling? Okay, what do we need to do to make him feel safer? What do we need to do to make this better? And then when they get thinking about it, it sticks more. And I've found with my clients that when they are thinking about it and they're connecting with their dogs better like that, the dog starts feeling safer, so they don't have to do these big behaviors because they my owner's got it fine. They've got my back. I don't need to scream so loudly. I don't have to communicate the way I'm communicating. And everyone's just a lot more connected together. Um, so that break is super important for them to, as well, to have that confidence. And then we go to engage and guide. That's the next phase, which is a little bit longer. And that is when we start doing a little bit more of behavior modification. But it is not in the sense of we are constantly getting the dog to look at us and it gets a treat. We want the dog to process the environment because that's how they learn. We want it to actually look at the environment and be like, right, yes, I'm safe. Now I can engage with you. Um, but the way they engage, I try, yes, we use treats, but we use them as not even as rewards. It's like, you're doing great, keep going. Yeah, like it's more of a validation that they're doing a really good job. They're doing what we're asking them to do. Um, and then I like to use the environment, so sniffing. So they don't have to disengage and give me eye contact. They don't have to disengage and look at me. They don't have to disengage when I tell them to. I never tell them to. It's all about choice. Even a slight disengage to the grass to sniff. That is, to me, it's amazing. So the engage and guide is about showing the guardians guidance on how to help and get their dogs engaged with us. But it's not just about reactivity. So we help we strip it all back again, and this is why it's longer. So if your dog is struggling inside with putting a harness on, we work on that as well. If they are struggling with being touched, we work on that as well. We do all the skills to make your dog feel as safe and comfortable as possible. Because that's safety is the forefront of it, because safety creates regulation.
Mm.
And then the next phase is integrate and activate. So this is when we stop not avoiding, but distance themselves. This is when we take a bit closer and start looking for our like sort of triggers. Still at a safe distance for the dog to not feel the need to communicate the way to communicate. But we want to see then, can we challenge just a little bit? How regulated can you be? Can you self-soothe? because what I've found from my own learning, going through my own regulation, is that the way to heal is from going through the same experiences but having a different outcome. So we want them to then get a little bit closer to these dogs and have more of a positive outcome rather than a negative one. So that their body starts feeling it's safe to do so. And that's the integrate is about coming back into not society, but kind of back into just relaxing and being a normal dog. It's not about obedience. It's not about walking to heel. It's about just flowing. So one of my dogs that I've got, we've worked with for 7 years, started as the walker. He got told by a top end behavioralist over my way that he would never be able to be friends with dogs. He now does group walks and he's going to be a stooge for me in September for one of my current dogs on this program.
Amazing.
So we've done a full 360 with him. It's great. And then the last phase is nurture. So this is just a online membership where my clients do not need me anymore. They are confident. They have got everything they need. Their dogs are feeling safe. We're doing great. But I am still there just in case. So I'm there at a discounted price. So even one of my clients, we worked with because she just had a baby and our dog had been attacked a couple of times and it was with her, so she lost all of her confidence. And the dog was barking around and he was terrified. So we got him through the first couple of phases. And again, you can see like I like to have my audio on my videos. So you can hear that I don't ask my dogs for anything. They do it all naturally by choice. And then the last phase is made around people. So it was like when her baby gets to 2, 3 years old, she was like, I'm worried about when he becomes a toddler and how he's going to be with the dog. And I was like, come back to us, and we'll help you then. Once you're part of the Wild at Heart, like family, you're part of the family. I don't go anywhere. I like to keep my clients. I think I'm just so used to having my dogs that I walk. I've had them for 10 years. I've had them since they were pups and they're all getting old now. And I've still got that kind of mindset where I love long term. I love building those kind of relationships with people and seeing their dogs all the way through, but not to a degree where I'm holding your hand every time, because I want you to have the confidence to know that because they can do it with that little bit of knowledge. My clients are coming, they can do it and it makes us so happy for them. But say if the dog did get attacked again, or they want to bring a new dog in and they don't know how to um kind of connect them together and bring them into the household, they can give me a call and I'm straight there. So that's the last phase. And I started it as a 6 month thing. Is the phases were all together. It was a 6 month program because to me long term is important because I don't believe in quick fixes, because you only see quick fixes when it comes to punishment and aversiveness and pain, and then your dog shut down. But 6 months is a hell of a big commitment for the clients. It's a big commitment for me. Um, so I was like, how can we break this down so it's financially good for my clients? And when life gets in the way, they can go, they can practice, they can do, and then they can come back. So that's why we've split it up in the 4 phases. And it follows the trauma informed pyramid as well, which I did not realize till the other day, where I saw mine and I was like, yeah, very similar. I like this. Um, so yeah, that's pretty much about the regain method. It is predominantly used to help dogs who've been through trauma. And like rescue dogs, I'm looking at getting into shelters to help. My big dream goal is to work with the shelters to prevent dogs being returned.
Brilliant. Absolutely
So
brilliant.
I want to get in there with the shelters and work on the dogs that are harder at home, actually in the shelters. And then when they find their home, I want to be first port of call with the guardians who have decided to take them, to be like, right, here's some resources. This is how we get them integrated into the home, feeling safe, feeling comfortable. Um, any issues, give me a call and I'll come out and we'll help that way. And it's to, yeah, again, it's to prevent the dogs having to go constantly back into shelters because the guardians can't handle them or they don't know what to do with them and stuff like that. I want to be that kind of port of call where it's like, once the dog's been rehomed, they're rehomed forever. They have their forever home. They don't have this whole crisis with. I volunteered in shelters a lot when I was younger. Um, just cleaning and mucking out and spending time with them in their faces. I didn't want to leave them. I couldn't leave them. It absolutely, the love I have and the connection I have with my dogs, I used to just lie there beside them and be like, I can't believe, I wish I could take you all home. And I can't do that. But what I can do is what I know best and try and help of our guardians with them as well. Um, so yeah, that's pretty much what it is and what I'm about.
Wow. I mean, you've hit on so many seriously good points there. I'm trying to like work out where to go next because there's so many different directions that so many questions. First of all, I really want to say, I love the fact that you, the way you treat your clients, and I like the connection between treating your clients and building up their less dependent on us. So we want them to be more independent so that they are confident. And we know that independence comes from that
Absolutely.
confidence that we, I know what I'm doing. I'm okay. I'm confident in this. And
Yeah,
therefore
yeah,
I'm, yeah. So I love that. And the fact that we're doing that with our dogs as well. That's a part. So I love the connection there between, yeah, we do this with our dogs. We want our dogs to be independent thinkers, able to make their own choices. But we also want our clients to do that too.
absolutely. So what I've found, obviously working the way I've worked in shadow and other trainers and stuff, and kind of taking the way I learn and I talk to a lot of people on the walks with nothing to do with training. And what I found is if you tell me to do something, I am less likely to do it because I'm being told to do it. Um, my idiot, the whole demand avoidance is like, no, or I'll do it for so long because it's big and it's shiny and I've paid all this money, and then I'll slowly drift off. Um, so I work in a way where I'm not telling you to do anything. I'm kind of shifting your mindset as into why. When you know the reason why, it makes more sense to why you want to do it. So if like, why should we do this? Right, well, oh, this is why. And this makes more sense rather than just saying, right, I want you to do boundary training 3 times a day. Get your dog to lie on the bed 3 times a day and you feed it cheese. Why? What does that help with the dog? You know? Um I do boundary training. We don't start off by telling the dog that to go to bed. We don't start off by putting the dog on a boundary. We start off by maybe bringing the bed in the middle of the room and seeing what the dog chooses to do. The more the dog thinks for itself and has choice, and then they see your reaction to that choice, the more the dog's like, oh my God, I need this response again. Dogs love to cooperate. That's what they are. That's why they have unconditional love for us. They love to please with. So by giving them the choice and showing they're getting a correct emotional response from us, that's what makes them want to do it more. How can I get this emotional response again? How can I get this feeling again? How can I get the oxytocin, the serotonin, and the bond from my guardian again? And that's, to me, that's how they learn. You know, the food wise, I do give them food, I do give them treats, but because I've been a good boy. It just if for me, it's a natural thing. And I don't do it every time they look at us, every time they do this, every time they do that. It's the emotional response we want to change, not the behavior. The behavior comes as a natural thing because they don't feel the need to do this, that, and the other anymore. I can't. I've tried being a typical trainer. I did all that. I did 3 courses to be a dog trainer, 3 different courses to specialize in reactivity from 3 different industries, and they were all the same.
Yeah.
They were all the same, and I was like, "There's got to be more than this." And to me, if I didn't get the results that I kind of wanted with a dog back then, I was like, "Right, there's something missing." To me, there's always something missing, there's something missing, there's more I can learn, there's more I can do this. I can pull apart from each little bit and go, "Right, that resonates, that suits, that doesn't." Rather than just be like, "Well, this is what I've learned, this is what I know. If it doesn't work, it's your dog, it's your problem."
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. This is the way that I think a lot of the industry is so split up at the moment because we've got people, on one side and then the other side, and they're arguing, and then we've got people like me and you who are like, actually, I don't kind of resonate
Yeah.
either.
In our complete own lane, like, completely, like,
Yeah,
um, I had someone on one of my posts when I was saying that about, like, obviously, you get the money to various of tools and stuff like that. And she's like, "Well, I've had course free people come over at me and they've decided my way is better because you just push treats and stuff." And I was like, "You don't know anything about me, do you? Because I don't fit in any of those categories." There's not many, where it is good to see that there are more people talking about a dog's their nervous system and regulation and stuff like that. And it's great, but I feel like some people are still missing the point of it, that we are an ecosystem. We are a family, you know. We need to learn and have the knowledge about humans' nervous systems, and they're very close together. And I think
absolutely.
that's why, like, with I work with energies as well. So the whole um kind of I went on a tangent when I was, well, a couple of years ago, and got really into quantum physics, and that became a hyper focus. Um and I kind of used that as a way to help shift my clients' mindset, because what you believe, you start saying.
Mm,
So if you believe and label your dog as a bad dog, as a dickhead dog, as a naughty dog, what chance does your dog have to prove you wrong
yeah.
when that's all you're saying? But once you start believing, even if your dog's not showing it, if you take a step back and start believing that, let's change your reality, let's actually change your mindset and go different perspective and be like, well, actually, what if he isn't being a bad dog? What if it is because of this? What if it is because of struggling? What if it is fear, or just a little bit of arousal, or a little bit of this? And then you give your dog the freedom to be what your dog actually wants to be, because no dog is born wanting to be reactive.
No, no, it's a last resort, and I think one of the things that I like is that, and I think we need more of, is people to be less afraid of being able to compare dogs and people. Obviously, that there are a lot of similarities the way the nervous system works when we're looking at the brain and how it functions. Yes, of course, there's massive differences, but that doesn't mean we dismiss the massive similarities between the brains of mammals. And when we look at
Absolutely. They're still, they're animals.
yeah.
And we're not treating them like animals that have their own ecosystem separate, but we're treating them as things, as property. Even the ones that love their babies, and you can see they love their babies, but it's like I think it's just lack of education,
Yeah, yeah.
sometimes like ignorance.
Well, it comes from, I mean, I work with, lots of different people from lots of different backgrounds. The one reoccurring theme I see is that most people are told, or at least they have some kind of belief system that if they don't train their dog into obedience, and that can still be used with treats, we can still train obedience with treats. If they don't do that, they're going to end up with a dangerous dog.
Yeah.
They're going to end up with a dog that is, reactive, is aggressive, is, out of control. And none of that's true. And if we can start recognizing that what emotional regulation actually is, when we start knowing what that is and having that real insight, we can see that emotional regulation does not rely on training, and it's a separate thing. It's a
Yep.
whole separate thing. And the difference between teaching and the difference between training, we use the language interchangeably, but actually there is a fundamental difference between the two. And from listening to you, I think you're doing more teaching than training, which I think is
Absolutely.
huge.
I I love to teach, I love to share my knowledge, but I like to get people to think. So I started a 5-week group, no dogs, just humans, teaching them about the nervous system and getting them to go home and have prompts to be like, right, what do I see from my dog? What can I? And it wasn't like I said, I've never seen the dogs. I've only just saw them since they've left the group.
Yeah.
Um, and we just talked, yes, individually about their dogs, but even the training plans, I wanted to get them to think for themselves, for their routines, for their dogs, because no one knows. Yes, we have all this knowledge about dogs, but I don't know your individual dog like you do.
Yeah.
So it's pointless me coming in and saying, right, you need to do this so many times a day, you need to do this so many times a day. This is your training plan.
Yeah.
But I've got to revamp my whole routine, my hobbies, everything that I've got set in place for my nervous regulation to do what you're telling me to do. They're not going to stick to that.
Yeah.
When they can create their own around their own life and around their own dogs and how their dogs work and the motivation that their dogs love. Because not every dog wants food,
Yeah.
you know? So when they learn how to do that, they can use that. It's about future progression as well. Once you know how to make your own kind of, call it a training plan, but it's because I don't know any other way to call it. But once you know how to do that, you can create that for when you go away, on holiday, and there is a bit of upheaval. So I've had really good results. It was my first time teaching it like this, with hands off, no dogs at all. It was in a crystal shop upstairs in a loft, so it was very calm and regulating for us as well. Um, and they've seen great. They come back to me and they've seen absolute really good results from it. And it is for me seeing them come back every week and started when they come. You can see one of my clients was like, I don't know what to do with my dogs. I think it might be best to rehome them. That's how desperate she was. One of our dogs bit twice. Another dog, and she did talk about that. And she's like, "But I love my dogs. I can't imagine being without them. But I don't think I'm the right like owner for them." And then so I come week to week, and every time she was like a little bit happier and a little bit happier. She accepted, yes, there were bad days. Yes, she was still struggling with our dogs a little bit. But it got to the point where it's like, I can manage it. I know what to do. I know we've got the emergency protocols in place. We've got the recovery routine in place for if they do react, what to do afterwards. And just even seeing that again, for me, is it's brilliant. I don't think people work with the clients enough. Trainers, we come in, we tell them what to do, we get the dogs to do it, and then that's our job done. Whereas I want to see you all the way through at the end. I want to see when your dogs are living the best life, you're living your best life, and everyone's happy and feeling safe. That's why I do it long term, because I like to say it.
Yeah,
I just like
and you can see the passion. You're so like you're very passionate. I can see that, and I think that's that's what we need. We need that passion. We need that commitment, and not just look for quick fixes. Which I will say, and I know we kind of is very prominent in the balance training community, but we do see quick fixes in even when we're using rewards. Sometimes that can look like a quick fix, but it's not getting to the root of the problem. So I love the fact that it is a commitment and it's a commitment that we should love. We should
yeah,
absolutely love that
absolutely.
commitment. And love all the steps and know, okay, yes, this we're going to have some hiccups here. But it's okay. We build in the foundations to get through those bumps in the road.
Yeah.
And outside of training, where we're like, okay, if you're going to train your dog, like the disengage and engage game, that kind of stuff. Outside of that, because that's just the surface stuff.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah. I always tell my clients, I was like, the reactivity, if we train during our dogs lunging, barking, growling, it's too late. That is the tip of the iceberg. They are gone. They are not going to listen to you. And they know themselves. What matters the most is what happens afterwards. That again is the experience with a different outcome. So we have the recovery routine,
yeah,
which is we want to then don't keep pushing our dogs to react more and pushing them through triggers and triggers, because they're just repeating the same experience with the same outcome. We want to change the outcome. We want to bring them back down. We want to get them sniffing and getting their brains working and them out of survival mode to be like, oh shit, yeah, I had a bit of an episode there. But we're good, we're safe, you know? Um, and I like to try and work to each individual dog as their breed as well as them as an individual. So it won't be as much as I follow a method and a framework that I've created. I can't tell you, right, this week we'll do this week we'll do this week we'll do this, and then this week we'll do this, because it changes for every dog.
mm,
Because dogs learn differently, they can adapt differently, they progress differently, and some dogs need more. So some dogs may need a little bit of relaxed lead training, or again, sensitively handling and getting them to feel comfortable that way. Not every dog needs that, but I like to add that in because that creates a whole picture. If you miss out one, it's gonna be harder to do the other. We've got to start right indoors, you know? Um, but like collies, say a collie and what they find motivating and how they work is completely different to a Pomeranian.
mm,
So when I'm working with a collie, I work towards that collie's personality. When I work with an Akita, they are bonded with that one person. They are smart, intelligent, but they weigh up their options to be like, what's in it for me? Sort of thing. So we are like, instead of going, this isn't it for you, because that's bribery, well, what do you want? Sniff. They love to sniff. Let's get them sniffing more. You know? For a collie, we've got one that loved to chase bulls. Bull wasn't the issue as much, but the chase was.
mm.
So we take out a raggy toy. So when he wants to bark and lunge, instead of suppressing that, telling him off of that, or getting him to be rigid and look constantly, give him a toy. And we're like, take all your frustration out on this,
Yeah.
you know, until they feel the need to be like, oh, we're okay. So yeah, I think a lot of dog training, it's got me great, but it's the generic stuff. I feel like we're evolving so much more than where we were even 5 years ago. We're learning so much more, and I just kind of want people to catch up with that, and I want my clients, is what I'm trying to teach them, is to be like, your dogs are so complex, but it's amazing. Learn all of this about your dogs. It's interesting. It doesn't have to be boring.
Absolutely, absolutely, and the industry is slowly starting to wake up. We're getting small pockets of people coming out, saying, "Actually, yeah, there is more to living with dogs than just training them. There's so much more to it. There's a lot more depth to it." And seeing that there's, differences between teaching and training, seeing that there's differences between being maybe stepping outside of behaviorism a little bit and looking outwards and seeing what other paradigms there are. There's also, people coming and just being a little bit less operant. And it's really good. It's really exciting. I think we're at a pinnacle point in the industry where we're getting more and more people, more and more professionals waking up to it. And interestingly, from my point of view, I've had so many clients on the receiving end of it going, "Oh, thank goodness for that. I've got the training was too much for me. My dog was under pressure. I was under pressure. There was so much to do, so many protocols, so many do's and don'ts. And actually, now this is just a more of a way of life. And that's what it is changing it to that
That's what I'm
natural way of life."
too sure because, and again, it's why I've created something that is long term. Like, yes, people think it's like 4 phases and you've got to go all through this. But really it's so I'm not teaching you a new technique every week because you don't have time for your dog to practice it. You know, I have my clients go with me every 2 weeks. They have support with me during. I tell like we talk about what to work on, and then they come to me. If it works, amazing. If it doesn't, right, okay, why?
Yeah.
What's going on? How can we adapt? How can we change it? And you're not going to know that if you're given something new every single week, because then you don't really see the results until the trader leaves and it's too late.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
and well, it was one of the things I noticed back when I was, more of a trainer. In fact, I don't train anymore at all. But I very much came from force-free training. For the first 10 years of my career, that's what I did. And one of the most common things people would say to me is like, "Oh, my dog works perfectly when you're here." "Oh, you can have my dog and you can train them." And it's like, well, and then, but what I wanted, because that wasn't very useful for them. It's not useful for them that their dog could do it all but perfectly for me.
I have
Um,
to do my training walks.
yeah, yeah. So it was like, "No, I need your dog to be able to do it for you." And then the question is, "Well, why is your dog doing it for me? Why is your dog not doing it for you?" And then it was like, "Okay, well, is it actually why does the dog need to be doing these things in the first place?" That was the biggest question. What I was teaching the dog, well, it was more training. What I was training the dog to do, because I was trained to do it this way. And okay, we need to do heel work. We need to,
Yeah.
and again, or even loose lead walking was still the conditioning of get the dog to look at you, look at you, look at you, look at you
I
against all
just
the
think those poor
distraction.
dogs and the poor dog's next,
Yeah,
you know? It's
absolutely.
here, whereas I walk a long line with all my dogs. I love it. I love a long line. Um, and as long as there's not loads of tension on that long line, I like my check-ins. I like the dog looking, but it's more for the dog to know we're on a walk together.
Yeah,
I am still here. It's not you just zooming off. Like you can go, we go sniff and we do all this, but we are still on this walk. We are still connected. We are still together. It is not like ever you have to look at me, and if you don't look at me, that's it. You have ruined. Like you have failed, sort of thing. I don't like the obedience side of things. Yes, we like our dog not to pull, but that comes again with a calm, regulated nervous system.
absolutely. That's the thing with lead walking. Everyone thinks, or so many people think that it's all about the dog needs to learn not to pull. Well, most dogs know how to walk on a lead. Most dogs have been trained in one form or another. In low distracted areas, they've been all taught the skill sets. Okay, if you walk nicely, you get a treat. If you walk nicely, you're going to get a treat. All this kind of stuff. That's assuming it's the force freeway, but then they know how to do it, but they can't in real life situations because it's an internal problem. It's a state of mind. It's how the dog's feeling. It's a reflection of how that
Absolutely.
dog's feeling.
So I found with one of my training walks, I mean he's elapsed at the minute, but and I take a lot of videos, I'm like, this is how you know it's not a behavior thing because when it's a quiet area and there's only a couple of dogs and he's feeling regulated and we do like massage and we do breathing work and connect that way. he's great. You know, you can do everything that is kind of it, like wanted from him, sort of thing. So you can disconnect, you can disengage. He doesn't bark, he doesn't lunge. When we bring it into a busier area and there's more dogs and there's vehicles and there's noise and there's kids he can't do any of that
Mm.
because his nervous system can't cope with it. Our nervous system is one point and one point only of our nervous systems and our brains, and that is to keep us safe.
Yeah.
It will do whatever it can do that feeds the need to keep us safe. So if we're already feeling safe, then our nervous system and our brains can relax and be like, we don't have to do this because we already feel safe.
Yeah, absolutely. And
It's not a behavior. It's not a behavior thing. It's like when you have clients that say, my dog's so well behaved in the house,
yeah.
but as soon as they get outside, they're crazy, you know? And it's like, it's not a behavior thing. It comes from way deeper than that.
Yeah, absolutely. And we have to look at everything underneath and really dig in deep and go, okay, what's this dog's individual personality? What's this dog's history? What's this dog going through right now? And understanding it's not that the dog just, it's not as simple as the dog's pulling because they just want to get from A to B. It's not. I mean, obviously, maybe a part of it can be for some dogs, but there's so much more to it. It's okay. Is the dog feeling overwhelmed right now? Is their mind going at 1,000 miles an hour and they can't catch up? And what their body is doing with the pulling and the lunging is it's reflecting how their mind is feeling. And so and obviously, we also need to look at ourselves. What's our plans for it? Is there a realistic outcome? Are we trying to get a husky to walk to heel? We have to have realistic expectations for the breed that we have and the way that that dog naturally walks.
For us as well as changing our mindset. So speaking to all the people I was spoken to, I've come to realize that a lot of their beliefs is what it's societal learning,
Mm,
and it's what's been pushed by like when we had that type of social media and all the old kind of age way of looking at dogs, and my dog should again be walking to heel and they should be doing this and I should be able to walk past another dog with my dog and be fine. Like, I cross the road even with my best behaved dogs. Why would you push yourself through that? You know? And I think it is a mindset shift, is challenging your own thoughts as
yeah.
to, well, why? Why do I want this? Why do I want that? But I think a lot of it comes down to kind of our self-worth
Mm,
as dogs.
yeah.
So we put on ourselves, if our dog is seen as badly behaved, we take that so personal.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, we're scared of judgment in public. We're scared of, particularly. I mean, even more so for professionals. We feel under pressure that we should look like we have the most obedient dogs, and I never did. Even I was always a bit embarrassed. I was always a bit like, wow, I train other people's dogs. I don't train my own dogs, and I was just like, well, and then it got to the point where I thought, but why aren't I training my dogs to do? If I'm telling my clients they have to train like this, why am I not doing it with my own dogs? Because I didn't enjoy it. My dogs didn't enjoy it, and
I
I
had the exact same realization, but my realization was because what my dogs are doing doesn't bother me.
yeah,
It's only unwanted behavior to other people.
yeah,
Yeah, my dogs are great for how I see them. So I'm not going to suppress them and stop doing this because I know, like, I had Corvu who I got him, rehomed him. He had 5 homes before he was 1 and then he came to me. We had to sleep train him and we didn't mess up a lot with that, but he was reactive to so much. And then he liked to dig the carpet. So to me, yes, it was a bit of a nuisance, but that was getting his frustration out and his outlet out. It's not an unwanted behavior that I want to change. If it's helping fulfill a need,
mm,
then I don't need obedience from a stop doing that. Like, my dogs may look untrained to you. It might not have perfect obedience, but to me, it doesn't bother us.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
They're
like,
happy, they're safe, and they're fulfilling what their body needs to fulfill.
yeah.
Who am I to care what other people think?
Absolutely. And one of the most important things is that we allow our dogs to be who they are without training them and shaping them to be who society says they should be.
Yeah.
And that was one of the things that got me was, one of the things I was always embarrassed about was getting guests over because my dogs would jump up. And when I have two rescue spaniels and they would jump up. And it was because I didn't mind it. I like that greeting. Personally, I love being jumped. I want all the dogs to jump on me. It's a great greeting. It's wonderful. Even the massive Great Danes. I've been to people's houses and I've had their Great Danes jump on me. I know that it can become problematic when it comes to safety issues, but for me, I didn't mind it personally. But then I realized that there was a difference between allowing, teaching dogs, okay, look, you can do that to me, just don't do it to anyone else. That when other people aren't coping with it, we greet nicely on the floor and all that kind of stuff. Because not everyone's going to want to be jumped on. That's fair enough, but I didn't want to teach like the thought process at the time was, well, you need to be consistent. You need to make sure that your dogs know never to jump on everyone.
I hate the word consistent,
Yeah.
especially as someone who has ADHD. The word consistent is not in my vocabulary. And I get a lot of my clients thinking that they are the worst owners in the world and that they have failed their dogs because they can't stay consistent. And I'm like, you're taking the word out of context.
Yeah.
So consistency to me does not mean the same time every day. You've got to do this, you've got to do that. It means just putting those what you want in from your dog and keeping to it.
Yeah.
That's where our dogs get confused. We tell them we do not want them on the sofa. And then one day we'll let the dogs on the sofa and then we'll tell the dogs off for being on the sofa again.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, that consistency, that is what frustrates me is people expecting our dogs just to know,
Mm,
you know, like I've had some come and they're like, "I play with my dog, I play with my dog." And then I shout at my dog because my dog still wants to play, but I'm done playing. I think, well, how does your dog know you're done playing?
mm,
Your dog still wants to play. You can't just leave your dog in the middle of playing because there's no closure there, you know? So we teach like an off cue. So it's like, right, game's over, but my main thing it is routine. I say, don't play with your dog 5 minutes before you have to leave for work
mm.
because you're gone for work and your dog's still hyped up and going, is he coming back to play more?
Yeah.
And to us, it's out of our brains. But to dogs, it is that 1 minute that we're playing, the next minute you've disappeared.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Stop for that.
Yeah. And that's a better description of what consistency actually means. It's not about, as you say, repeat this and do this over and over and over again. Is actually the consistency is us being reliable. That's
Yeah.
the main thing is reliability, and being a bit more predictable with us, with our dogs. Like we are easy to predict because we're good communicators with them. We're not just going to play with them and then randomly disappear. We have to be a bit more predictable.
I think that's why when clients say that their dogs are different with us than they are with them, because we come in and we stick to we do what we say and we mean what we say and we stick to it. We don't say one thing and then do another. So we are very predictable with our dogs that we work with.
Yeah,
And I think that's the thing that clients struggle the most is their unpredictability. I try and teach them this because I don't think a lot of people understand why they need to be predictable, but predictability creates safety.
absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
If we can predict what our dog's going to do, then we can help them or decide, actually, that's not very safe. Let's do something else. Our dogs are trying to predict what we're going to do in order for them to feel safe as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Very accurately put. Okay, so we're going to be finishing up then because I mean, I feel like I could talk to you for hours. But is it what in terms of like what you're doing with the regain method, and everything you're doing? How can people reach you? How can they find your work? Do you work online, offline? Is it both?
I work at the minute, I work predominantly offline. I love being in person with people. So they can reach me through my website, which is just reactivityspecialist.co.uk, or Wilder Hot Dogs Reactivity Specialist. I also run um I co-host a free dog support group on Fridays. My best friend Janie runs it, who has created this amazing community. You can come in, just drop in anytime. No dogs allowed, for the humans, and we just talk about our dogs. And it's for the ones who are, it's for everyone really, but we get, if you're anxious, if you're feeling underconfident, if you don't know where to turn, I will drop in every now and then and give tips and give help that way, completely free. She also has a access to training fund, which is part of the dog support network. So if you aren't able to afford any of training right now, or able to afford any support from ourselves, you can drop her a message and go through an eligibility check, and she will ring you up, have a chat, and see if we can get you onto the funded scheme where it gets paid for you.
Wonderful. I think that's a wonderful thing to do, and a wonderful option to have. So just so that everyone listening knows where they can find you, like, where are you based? Like, where's all this training
Oh,
done?
sorry. So I'm based in South Tyneside in the UK. I cover the northeast of the UK, but predominantly South Tyneside, South Shields area, um, and County Durham as well.
Wonderful. Brilliant. Well, I look forward to hearing more about your method and what you're doing. I follow you on your journey and what you're doing. And I just want to thank you so much for coming on and explaining the Regain method.
For having me. It's been fun.
Really fun, really fun. I think I'm going to have you on again because there's too many conversations that we need to have.
Absolutely.
But lovely. Thank you for coming, and everyone who's watching. I will be coming back onto my podcast very soon. I just wanted to drop this episode as a special guest episode, for you to all listen to a different perspective from someone, from an expert in her field, and to follow more about what Jess Jones is doing, because it's a brilliant thing, I think, and we need more of these different perspectives.